Okay, welcome. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You may have heard the sound of Dina going, "Ugh." I'm going to show you what Dina was saying making that noise in regards to in a minute. Right, we've had a huge argument about jacket potatoes. If you're listening on podcast, you'll be thinking, what the hell's going on? Welcome to Coffee Moaning. We're going to walk through the newspapers, not the snooze papers. And if anyone was visited my Instagram last night, you may have seen there's a particular story in the press today that is particularly enraging, and we will be talking about that. And if you were watching Coffee Moaning yesterday, you will have noticed that I stepped towards this story, but refused to get caught up in the kind of hogwash that was being thrown around the so-called solely anti-Semitic riots in Palestine, because I felt, you know what, I just think there's more to this story. I want it to kind of unravel, and it has unraveled, and there are no surprises there. So we're going to talk about that. But anyway, let's talk. So, and later at 11 o'clock, it's a jacket potato special.
Yep.
Spud you like.
And weirdos that don't like jacket potatoes aren't invited.
I used to call it Spud you lick. Because
God.
What?
Now that is disgusting.
Shut it. Okay, let's have a look at the front of the paper. So, front of the Times, Iran plot to kill Trump, and the image down the bottom there of Baron Trump is what actually made Dina go, ugh. I mean, you know, he's a good-looking lad, but he looks quite suspicious of everyone, doesn't he? Apparently, Baron Trump was critical and instrumental in convincing his dad to appear on the podcast. So this is the guy who mobilized the manosphere, as they call it, the manosphere that kind of surrounded Trump and elevated him to victory. Though we keep saying it as the manosphere, I think 52% of women voted for Trump. It's quite a statistic, isn't it? So anyway, front of the Times, Iran plot to kill Trump. This is slightly old news, because I don't know if you remember, there was a moment during the campaign where he said that he would hit all their nuclear structures, because at the end of the day, it's only nuclear. We know what to do. We're just going to hit nuclear. You just hit all their nuclear, you know. So this is kind of old news. But the fact that the press, the FBI have announced it yesterday, that there was an assassination attempt being planned by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Can't help but feel that many of the papers here who support the Israeli atrocities and are constantly providing cloud cover to Israel, you can't help but feel they're trying to prod the bear or poke the bear, don't you feel? I was talking to a friend this morning when I was getting the papers. It's like, what's going on here? They're trying to kind of nudge a response from Trump. I think so. So Iran plot to kill Trump. It's also on the front of the Sun. Let's just go back to, don't think Melania fancies Trump anymore. She winces when he kisses her. You see, I disagree, Faith. I think Melania I don't think they're in love, and I think it's a transactional relationship.
Nobody hates him more than Melania.
Well, okay, and I'm sure that's the case, but I think she's proving infinitely more successful at faking it now than she ever has done in the past. So, moving on. Iran hitman plot to murder Trump. This is inside the Daily Mail. I've never once in 8 years seen her wince. No, I've seen her. She has a sort of perennial grin. She's sort of like that a lot of the time, isn't she? The Sun is carrying on. We talked about this on Thursday, and I have to say, I was ashamed and embarrassed by The Guardian offering therapy sessions to its journalists who couldn't cope with Trump's victory. Well, of course, the Sun is doubling down on this. A global game changer, bonfire of the wokeries. November the 5th was bonfire night for right-thinking, wrong-headed lefties who put the torch to free speech, says the Sun. It's a difficult time for anyone who isn't right-wing, let's face it, isn't it? I mean, it's like they're all kind of tickety-boo, and they're all kind of gang, Nina. I'll tell you what I am worried about, and one of the papers was suggesting this could be the case. I've got a horrible feeling we're going to have a similar lurch towards reform. I think the same thing. Here's a prediction. In 4 years' time at the next election, We are going to lurch towards reform in exactly the same way that America lurched towards Trump. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. We are in for a very bumpy 10 years. I'm telling you that now. Around Donald Trump, has anyone heard of the, what's it called? The 4B movement. Ban on Trumpy, Rumpy, Pumpy. This is a sex strike for US women. This has been picked up from, I believe, South Korea or Korea. Angry US women are threatening to go on sex strike in protest at Donald Trump's election victory. Thousands have vowed to join the South Korean, feminist movement, the Four No's, a ban on. I think Dina signs up to all of these already. I think, in fact, Dina doesn't realize she's probably the figurehead of an entire movement. A ban on dating, a ban on marriage, nads, a ban on sex, and a ban on childbirth. I don't know if she's got a ban on childbirth, but Trump has celebrated. And this is basically the 4B movement is gaining momentum in the US. There's something quite powerful about this. I hope this gains traction. Women are declaring a sex strike. It's interesting, isn't it? In protest. Let's see what happens. It's a great idea. What do you think, guys? Victoria Moore. It's a great idea.
On that. I want to do that on Coffee Moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Victoria Moore. Really Faith Goodman, TV said that the bloke who is vice president is even worse in his views than Trump. Be warned, he's possibly going to be the most powerful vice president in history. The Bailey, the right want the left to fight amongst each other. That's to come. What the left needs to do, and I said this on Thursday, Bailey, I don't know if you saw Coffee Moaning. We have to be really careful. I think we mustn't all kind of run around the bushes and the margins sobbing and being like, oh, Trump's got in. And we've got to laugh uproariously in the face of all of them, grab our balls and every other bits and bobs of our anatomy and kind of go, fuck this for a game of soldiers. Let's take them on. Let's take them on case by case, policy by policy. Okay, they've won. I think any American who feels, aggrieved by this election result just needs to sit back and go, all right, smart ass, do it. Over to you. Here's the keys to the Beamer. You've got the running of the country. Let's see how it works for you. Let him run it unfettered, and let's see where he gets. You don't sometimes over pursuing your enemy kind of works against you. Front of the Daily Star, world hit by a nasty dose of the tango terrors. Women plan a rumpy-pumpy ban in protest. Global politicians do a screeching U-turn on insults. Though I have to say, David Lammy, whenever you hear David Lammy interview, does anyone else feel like not only does he sort of slouch in every chair he's in, but he sort of almost doesn't give a flying fuck about anyone, does he? He's incredibly supercilious. And Guardian editor offers devastated staff counselling. Oh, flipping heck. Right. This is a serious story, and this has caused great upset and frustration in this household. And we've got that annoying commentator, Danny Cohen, the former head of BBC One. We cannot close our eyes to the chilling return of anti-Semitism. It is time for our society to wake up after racist attacks with devastating echoes of the Holocaust. Right, okay. This story is beyond a joke. The way in which the Western press has seized upon essentially an Israeli press release. Football hooligans went to Amsterdam and went to Holland with the sole intention of causing trouble. Members of the crowd and members of the football fans there were members of Mossad. There were serving IDF soldiers in there because people have charted and connected the footage they've posted from the riots to footage that they've posted in the war zone. They went there chanting such unspeakable race hate. So when race hate is chanted, as Danny fucking Price on Instagram has gone to great lengths to illustrate, you will be met with some resistance. Because let's not forget, the greatest arbiters of the notion of self-defense is Israel itself, right? Do you remember the provocation of October the 7th that meant that Israel could then genocide an entire people? Do you remember that? Well, you go to a country pulling down flags, screaming death to all Arabs, saying there are no schools in Gaza because we've killed all your children. Don't be surprised that you're met with resistance. Do not be. So what has happened in the press is the press has not once, none of the fucking Western press has looked at cause and effect. Cause there's even question marks over whether flights were actually scrambled to Holland and brought out. Netanyahu got on top of the story quickly. Why did he get on top of the story quickly? Because he can't save the hostages, but also because Mossad were involved. There was a strategic move here. And I tell you what they've actually done. Rather than all of these headlines of the king of and the government and the king of Netherlands are as at fault as everyone else, simply reacting because they a shared collective guilt that they must have done something. No, look at the truth.
Mark, explain what
look at the truth.
Straight away the papers went with it.
I've said that. The press went with the story that this was a huge chasing, hunting down. It was echoes of Kristallnacht from, prior to World War II. It was a pogrom of abuse. They were hunting Jewish people down in the streets. Hang on a minute. When has any story about football fans going abroad or football hooliganism ever been about anything other than football hooligans going abroad? Suddenly, when it's football fans from Israel, they're the purest victims on the planet. This is a joke. This is an absolute shameful joke.
Just tell me again what they were shouting.
I've said it. I'm not going to say it again.
No, but I just can't believe it.
So to see someone who used to be the head of the BBC, Danny Cohen, trotting out this jaundiced, one-sided, absolutely fraudulent narrative, this whole thing, the Israeli football hooligans and fans were the ones that insulted the memory of Anne Frank. They're the ones who insulted the memory of the Holocaust and Holland's experience of the Holocaust. No one else. Netanyahu's stooges are making an absolute mockery of one of the most atrocious things that happened in history. They have used it like dollar bills. It's becoming meaningless.
And can I just add
outrageous that we can then draw a parallel between football hooligans generating violence and hate speech, but no one is allowed to draw an equivalence between a genocide on Palestine and the Holocaust.
And today, Save the Children released 44% of those killed in Gaza are children. Okay, but let's make all the front pages of the newspaper that there's been an anti-Semitic attack on football hooligans that were chanting, "Why are the schools empty in Gaza? Because we killed all the children."
Also, jeering, cheering and laughing and celebrating the deaths of Spanish people because Spain has dared to challenge Israel's policy of genocidal intent in Gaza. This is an absolute outrage. Everyone needs to contact every paper, every broadcaster and hold them to account. All that happened here was Netanyahu published, essentially may as well have written a press release. He put his personal word to it. It made a statement. And suddenly, Bibi, the biggest temperamental toddler on the world stage, had to fly all of his football hooligans back. What was the first thing they were chanting as they came off these flights back to Israel? Death to the Arabs, kill all the Arabs. There are no schools because we've killed all the children. You can't even wrap your head around it. But that provocation isn't talked about. The papers have not talked about the provocation, or where they have reluctantly stepped towards just the act of pulling a Palestinian flag down. It is a sham. It is a sham, and we are literally being taken for fools. So Danny Cohen, you can go and do one. The fact that you were responsible for most of our broadcasting output for several years, I've sat in a room with you, unforgivable, utterly unforgivable. Here are some images from the night. Dutch king tells of shame after Israeli football fans attacked. What happened? Where did the violence come from? You can't now say that having a response to a provocation isn't allowed, because that's the whole fucking idea behind what happened after October the 7th. You can't have it one way, but you can if you're Israel. You can if you're Bibi, the biggest baby on the planet. Go and change his nappy. We have failed the Jews again. What about failing the Muslims? What about failing the Palestinians? Oh, God, the thing that makes me most incensed is the way in which these people, these so-called journalists, trot this out, thinking that we all just go, yeah, oh, poor Israeli football fans. I'm telling you now, how many football fans that travel around Europe are a nice bunch anyway? Sorry to any that are nice, but, there's always trouble. There's always trouble. This is the final point on this. This is the only time I've ever known violence erupting around football fans where it hasn't been assigned to the fact that they're football hooligans. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. Oh. In the city of Anne Frank, the lessons of history have not been learnt. By Israel. By Israel. They have not been learnt by Israel. Daily Mail. Dark night in Amsterdam as Israeli football fans attacked. Hang on, let's just take the ED off the end first. As they attack, and then yes, violence breaks out. What a surprise.
People should be writing to you away from FIFA.
Yeah. Moving on. As you can tell, the injustice is sometimes too difficult to swallow.
I couldn't even speak.
Too difficult to swallow. And they wonder why. They're met with hostility and resistance around the world. Just wonder why, because the vast majority of humanistic individuals have a brain that challenges narratives. Outrageous. But anyway, poor old Liam Payne. Obviously, 3 arrests were made yesterday of people who had been around and near the One Direction star shortly before his death, supplying drugs. One of the charges is leaving him vulnerable with a view and with the consequence that he died afterwards. It's a curious charge, but 3 people are being charged around for negligence and drug supply. But the front of the Mirror has another story about another heartbroken pal of his. I did not abandon Liam. This is Rogelio Norres, who was chatting and joking with him. He says 20 minutes before. I don't know if this story, there were over 15 people at the lobby chatting and joking with Liam. When I left, it was 40 minutes before this happened. I think the suggestion being that his demise or his whatever happened to him and altered his state of mind happened very, very swiftly. And in other papers, the same man, friend, Tycoon, charged, I didn't abandon my pal Liam to die. He said he left the Star chatting and joking. Tragic, but it's going to be interesting to see if any of this brings any sort of peace whatsoever to Liam Payne's family. Okay, moving on. I was going to do another story, but I'm not going to do that because that's a bit depressing. So let's move on to something a bit lighter. What do you think of this, guys? Gay in a manger, no crib for a bed. Debenhams axed Christmas jumper after protests. Debenhams has been forced to remove a controversial gay in a manger jumper after protests from Christians. Is this blasphemy? Or is this taking the Lord's name in vain? Or is this just a bit of light-hearted fun? The purple sweatshirt was created by alternative clothing brand Grindstore and featured a print of a rainbow. Debenhams quickly pulled the jumper from its website, though, as criticism mounted on social media. I mean, I remember one of the very few posts we've had to ever pull down was because it caused so much offence. Was a candle, which I think was it Lisa got us a candle of me and Nadia as Mary and Joseph. Is it? I think not too keen, Sharon Wilson, but maybe it is offensive. I don't know. A gay in a manger. I think it's about intention. Well, the intention is to sell bloody jumpers, isn't it? A hairstyling hero. Trevor Sorbie, is it Sorbie? Trevor Sorbie has died at 75. Apparently, I didn't realise he talked about having, I think his bowel cancer had spread. Celeb stylist Sorbie, who used his skills to aid cancer patients facing hair loss, dies at 75. I didn't realise he created something called the wedge. Am I right in thinking the wedge? What is the wedge? Is it
from the 80s?
Is it like literally a wedge?
Yeah.
Here?
No, here at the fringe. The fringe was a big wedge.
Oh. What, like a bulbous wedge?
Boys in the 80s that had wedges with the tastiest.
Oh, I see. I think I now know what the wedge is. Oh, so R.I.P. I had a wedge.
I think so.
I thought I had curtains. Crocodile Beefy, I was nearly catch of the day. Oh, that's quite a clever little headline, that, isn't it? Botham, Ian Botham, he fell into a river infested with killers. Just before we go into the detail of this story, though, I was struck at one point going through the papers. There's about 5 photos of different men holding fish, like they've done something special. Now, I know they've caught it, and that in and of itself is kind of special, but there's something deeply infantilizing about men grinning into camera holding a fish. It just, sometimes you see images and you think, it's a bit weird. I've seen a few too many of these. Anyway, I like Ian Botham. He was one of my favourite cricketers. Cricket legend, Lord Ian Botham, he cheated death when he fell into a river infested with crocodiles. And his mate, or his kind of arch enemy, Merv Hughes, who was an Australian cricketer, pulled him out. Bless him. Could have been shredded wheat. Did he used to do shredded wheat, or did he used to do Weetabix? I can't remember what advert he used to do. Okay, Wolf Hall is back. Now, for various educative reasons, Wolf Hall was playing in the house this week, and I got drawn back into it. And I was like, oh, I'm quite enjoying this. I quite like anyone else about to watch it. There's a new series, which is basically an adaptation of one of his, one of Hilary Mantel's other books. But this story annoys me because I think in the world of films and TV and series, we did a review of Rivals. I think you can have really farcical mainstream entertainment made well and done brilliantly. And I think we said that Rivals was like Jilly Cooper meets Shakespeare. And then you can have Wolf Hall, which is by any stretch of the imagination quite dry, quite slow, but quite thoughtful and quite meditative and quite serious. So when the producer of Wolf Hall comes out and savages Rivals, I just feel like going, oh, fuck off, you killjoy. Why can't there be room for 2 things? So Colin Callender thinks that Jilly Cooper's hugely successful romp is trading in cliches. This is when I find cultural snobbery intolerable. And, we go to great efforts with the Popcorn Junkies to kind of review all the mainstream films. We do art house. We don't expect as many people to be interested in the art house ones, or indie films. But why can't there be a spectrum of content that's just brilliant? And I think being the producer of Wolf Hall and getting all hoity-toity about Rivals is an incredibly sophisticated piece of entertainment and storytelling and filmmaking. And just because it's completely different, just because it's different, check out our review. Just because it's different in tone and subject to a very sort of serious drama, historical drama. This is why kids fucking hate history, because you've got arseholes like Colin Callender saying, it's got to be painful for it to be actually meaningful. It's got to be really quite worthy for it to be actually any good. Fuck off. If people enjoy it, that says it all. And that's not to say I really enjoyed Wolf Hall, and I'm looking forward to the new series. But why do they have to do this? Why did they have to do that? It's riled me. It's riled me. And I thought, you arsehole. But the BBC have also been branded jaw-rakingly stupid over using black actors in Wolf Hall. What do we think about this? Because, in fact, both series, Rivals and Wolf Hall, do the same thing. I don't think the original book, Rivals, featured any characters of colour, and yet
ridiculous.
Why
would anyone object?
Well, no. The objection here is the BBC have branded jaw-rakingly stupid because they've put black actors in Wolf Hall, which is a historical drama. Of course, there wouldn't have been black people in the positions they were in back then, but I do think this is a bit of a spurious kind of issue because, I mean, I was out at the theatre this week and we saw Coriolanus, and David Oleyeo, I hope I pronounced it correctly, black actor, he was playing Coriolanus. There was no, if we were to strictly stick with casting rules, the only black actor you would ever get in Shakespeare is Othello. And it just, I think there are some cases where you can deal with a historical story and the colour is irrelevant. You're either actively looking for the colour or you're not. I mean, it would be jaw-achingly stupid if the black actress or the black actor playing a character set in historic Britain started to talk about being black, or anything that happened to them was about their ethnicity, because that wouldn't be true. But I think casting anyone from any, I don't see it as jaw-achingly stupid at all. So once again, the Daily Mail trying to kick up some sand.
They want some racism.
They want some cultural conflict. I'm a victim of the posh baby buggy crime wave, and police did nothing. I felt split on this one. Obviously, I feel very sorry for Lucy Tobin, because she lost her buggy and she couldn't get it back. Her buggy is called the Yo-Yo. Anyone else a yo-yo? The yo-yo buggy. I have to confess, though, so of course I'm not in any way at all saying that if you've got a posh Land Rover of a buggy, it deserves to be stolen. Of course not. Of course not. But there's nothing more infuriating than a cafe when it's overwhelmed. When a cafe is overwhelmed by these enormous buggies that mean you can't get round anything or round anyone. They're cars. They're four-wheel drives. So this is very first world problems. Living in a suburban enclave of North London, not a month goes by without our roads group chat lighting up with reports of another wheel theft. Fiesta stolen, but now it's the yo-yo buggy. My toddler buggy's gone missing. What's happened to the old? Just put your kids in a McLaren. Do you remember the McLarens? You sort of whack them up. And you become, as a parent, wouldn't you? Become sort of adept at kind of just kicking it down with one foot. Why so much on a buggy? And then when they push the buggies, they look at you angrily. I have to say, there is a real yummy mummy problem. McLaren buggies, dangerous. You could get your fingers caught in them. They were brilliant. Brilliant. Is anyone else a bit depressed by the weather? Apparently, we've had 18 minutes of sunshine in 11 days. Britain is one of the gloomiest countries in history, with only 18 minutes of sunshine. Now, I was trying to remember what the name of the weather front. No, not the McLaren as in a Formula One car. I always thought that. The McLaren as in an astonishing piece of machinery was the McLaren buggy. It would morph and shift itself into the shape of your child. Your child could sit as if they were lounging in front of the telly. It was an amazing piece of kit. Nadia has been pushed around in a McLaren.
Do you remember when we kept forgetting them at the airport?
We'd lose them at the airport and have to always go back. The McLaren would come through as a strangely shaped travel item. And you'd forget, where's the McLaren? Fucking hell. Anyway, yesterday I was trying to remember what this strange weather phenomenon is. And it's called, did you know this, ladies? We're in the middle of an anticyclonic gloom.
Oh,
That's what it's called. Anticyclonic gloom. And I have to confess, it's like there's neither rain, there's neither snow, there's neither sun. It's like birds are out there going, is this it? Is this it? Robins are like, come on, give us some frost, for fuck's sake. In other news, what's this one here? Answer to the question that's baffled civilization forever. Okay, guys, what do you think came first, the chicken or the egg? Apparently, they think they've answered it. But whilst you give me your answer, chicken or egg, what came first, chicken or egg? Because I want to know why there is no archaeological evidence of fish with legs or humans with fins. Why have we not found anything of the in-betweeny bits? All right, what are you all saying? Oh, chicken, says Me Too. Egg, says Margaret. Well, apparently they're saying after centuries of debate, they've cracked the riddle. A team from Geneva has analysed the remains of one of Earth's earliest life forms, and they've basically established that it started with the egg. So basically, this is the bit that confuses me always about genetics and evolution. At what point, if it started as an egg, did the egg go, do you know what? We need to kind of become something with two legs and feathers that then lays ourselves. It doesn't answer anything. We like to think it answers it. I think sometimes when you look at science and evolution, it's as ridiculous as many religions. We are we're filling all the gaps with our imagination and assumptions. I don't think we're right. I don't think it did start with the egg or the chicken. Really don't. I think it started with Dina's fart. That's what I think. Okay, moving on. Beyonce tops female-led list of Grammys. I tell you why I pulled this. Look at the photo of. I literally saw. I know everyone loves Beyonce, and God, I know. I just thought, oh, so bored of Beyonce, bored of Taylor, bored of all of them. Same old people trotting out, winning the same old things. Boring. Move on. Chimps go ape for a crowd. Boffins, they love to show off. Oh, this could explain why Nadia's such a show-off. So chimps are show-offs who love to have an audience, boss say. In a study, the primates did better at tricky computer tasks if they were being watched. This story reminds me of that thing. Men play sport better, or are better at sport, or are more impressive, I think, when their partners are watching them. There's this thing, I think, I don't think women realise, young men love the idea of the partner standing on the touchline, being amazed by what they're achieving on the pitch. So I think this is the same thing. So chimps chimps can play computer games better if people are watching them. That's so sweet. Who's that? Paul Mescal. Gladiator is coming out any minute now. Lots of upset about whether what they're going to show in the film is historically accurate. Does it matter? Does it matter if it's historically accurate? So one of the things that they do feature is, quite remarkably, people riding rhinos, and they flood the Colosseum and they have ships. Apparently they did that. But interestingly, some historians like Dan Snow have said, why have they got sharks in there? Because think back to the Roman era. Even Damien Hirst struggled to transport a dead shark. How would they have transported sharks to the Colosseum? I love that. It's a very literal question. It's like, hang on a minute, you couldn't have done that. But does it matter? Does it matter, Bellex? Absolutely. I don't think it does. We just want the more the merrier. As long as spaceships don't land in there, we don't care, do we? So there you go. Look at that rhino moment. Look at that. Does anyone know what that is? It's an astonishing image, isn't it? Which makes you think, good God, what would this be? What would these are clouds. I mean, whilst we're going through a cyclonic gloom, Jupiter is going through hallucinogenic heaven. Look at that. I want to be on fucking Jupiter, because right down here right now, it's fucking boring looking at the sky. Isn't that amazing? Beautiful. And this, I just love this. Look at this. An Indian roller bird, closely related to a kingfisher, but not quite one, is pictured catching a grasshopper, though I actually think the grasshopper is cleaning his mouth. This I love. Look at this dog at the bottom. Canine Sandhurst prepares recruits for life in army. If you're listening on podcasts, these are dogs that have basically got army sort of clothes on. They've got masks, they've got little booties on, and they're being trained. This would make a fantastic obs doc series, wouldn't it? Canine Sandhurst prepares recruits. Look at that dog down there getting ready for war. But we don't believe in war, do we? Unless we're being attacked. And then, do you believe in war? I don't know. War's a weird thing. Oh. And this is funny. Sud's Law. Elephant learns how to shower, but a friend learns how to ruin it. So you've got one elephant hosing herself down at Berlin Zoo, but then another elephant was seen stepping on the hose. Oh, don't you love that? Oh, hi, Alzara. Oh, my, did you send it again? Send it again. Please send it again, Alzara. Resend it. I love this. See, two elephants. So you got an elephant doing a prank on its mate. It steps on the hose, and then look, they've got a photograph there to make it look like it's laughing. I love all that shit. And finally, I just wanted to show you this photo because it's astonishing. This is an effigy of Nigel Farage paraded through the streets of Lewes in East Sussex as part of bonfire night. Look at that. That's him carrying a pint, and those are rioters. Wow. It's quite something, isn't it? Zoos do suck, Pink Lady. When I go to zoos now, I just want to liberate all the animals. But then when you get to the tiger's cage, you sort of think, I don't know if this is a good idea. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for, please, I beg of all of you. So many people say and ask us, what can we do about the deep, gross unfairnesses surrounding the Israeli atrocities in Gaza, Palestine, Lebanon, and the sort of the weaponized victimization that is going on, certainly in this football hooliganism. This is a football hooligan story threaded through with Islamophobia. Those are the front two parts of the story in Amsterdam. And then, of course, anti-Semitism that comes out of that is as reprehensible as the rest. But you can't pretend that the violence didn't have a cause and effect. And please share with everyone, that there is more to this story than the mainstream media are telling us. But on that final note, we just want to wish Tori a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tori. Happy birthday to you. Woo! So see you in a minute for some really, really tasty jacket potatoes.
Aye, aye.
Jacket potatoes.